As a researcher, do you want to save time, learn of new and relevant research publications, and avoid rejections? You delicately balance your limited time, researching, teaching, and serving your institution. And we can save you time and effort as you seek outlets for publishing your important contributions. USASBE is proud to offer our entrepreneurship education series, Meet the Editors. 15 episodes are already planned with a variety of journals and their editors. Learn how to successfully get published as these editors share trends in academic publications, explain what they are looking for as they shape their journal, and provide you tips on how to successfully get published. There's more. Gain an understanding of their personalities and philosophies as top researchers in their own right. As an entrepreneurship researcher, you want to get published, avoid rejections, and save time. And this series is designed to do just that and more. Together, we will create more entrepreneurs through better research, better teaching, and better practice. Thank you for your passion in advancing entrepreneurship education, and enjoy this episode.
We are here representing the Journal of Ethics and Entrepreneurship. My name is Christine Sutton. I'm a professor at Gardner-Webb University, which is where the journal is housed. I have contact information on here, both for the journal and for myself personally, so please feel free to reach out if you would like to.
Hi, as was introduced, I'm Erin Miles. I'm a professor at the University of Nebraska at Omaha, and work primarily in the areas of strategy and entrepreneurship, and have been working with Christy here now for several years. I'm at this amazing journal and looking forward to speaking on behalf of the journal, inviting many of you to submit publications.
Hi, everyone. My name is Bill Achia, and I'm an assistant professor of management here at the Gardner-Webb University's Godboll School of Business. I would say that I'm passionate about social entrepreneurship. So research targeted at social entrepreneurship is something that's a passion to me. I have a background as well in operations management, so I'm also pretty interested in innovation and entrepreneurship research.
So to talk a little bit about the journal, the mission of the Journal of Ethics and Entrepreneurship is really to publish interdisciplinary, conceptual, theoretical, and empirical scholarly research that connects entrepreneurship and ethics, so the intersection in there, in a way that's both useful for academics and practitioners. The journal is both double-blind and peer-reviewed, and it's one of the select few journals partnered with USASBE. There aren't any submission fees or costs to be published in our journal, and it's listed in both Cabell's Directory of Publishing Opportunities. And we're discoverable on EBSCO, Business Source Complete, ProQuest, ABI, Inform Complete, Gale, and several other research databases. As Christy mentioned, JE is housed at the Gardner-Webb University and is funded in its entirety by a wonderful endowment by John and Linda Gobald School of Business. I might have pronounced that incorrectly.
It's Godboll, but it's fine.
Sorry. So the journal is really looking at the intersection. So we thought it would be useful to kind of know what that actually means. And so here are some of the different categories that are typically covered by the articles we publish in the journal, but we're really open to any kind of high quality submission that fits in the ethics and entrepreneurship intersection. So what does that look like? So in that first box, that entrepreneurial ethics really is looking at how entrepreneurs versus non-entrepreneurs might handle different ethical situations or dilemmas. In particular, something that's really, I think, interesting and very top of the day is looking at technological change and how it intersects with within the ethical bandwidth, I would say, or the field, the formation of ethical infrastructure in new ventures. So how are values created and how do they develop? And then really looking at the stakeholder theory of entrepreneurship. So who it involves, all those different partners and how that comes to be. As Bill might have mentioned, his focus and what he's really interested and passionate about is social entrepreneurship. And we have seen great growth in that field as well. And so the journal looks for articles that cover all that field really encompasses. So defining what social entrepreneurship is, how it works, how it evolves, the different ethical concerns that come up in social ventures, profit, how much profit, those kind of questions. Empowerment of disenfranchised entrepreneurs might also fall within that. And then I'm looking at the purpose of social ventures versus maybe non-social ventures. And then in that third category is looking at entrepreneurship and society. So these would probably be a little bit more macro questions, but looking at how entrepreneurship intersects with economic theory, macroeconomic development, or other societal roles. So you can see that we cover a broad range of topics, but all fit within kind of, again, that intersection of entrepreneurship and ethics. And so I would say that a lot of the articles that are published in the journal are really kind of interesting from a lot of different perspectives. I would say what's really novel is that usually have practical implications as well, which is really useful for, I would say, all of us to endeavor on. Some of the titles from the past issue. First one is What Goals Do Firms with Religious Zoning Families Achieve? And it was more of an exploratory study. And you can see how it really fit within that first category of topics that I talked about. The second title was Humanistic Entrepreneurship, the Pioneering Case of Francis White. So this is more of a longitudinal or historical look at how entrepreneurship evolved within a specific case study, I guess you would say. And then similarities and differences of social and commercial entrepreneurs and meaningfulness, work orientation, and work and life satisfaction. So this was probably more in that, again, that first box. So looking at how things evolve over time. And then does more experience and more risk-taking go hand in hand for angel investors? And so this is a really interesting article that looked at how experience impacts, particularly with angel investors, their experience, how that impacts the risk-taking and what they are willing to invest in. As you can see, there's an upward trend of research incorporating ethics and ethical considerations into the field of entrepreneurship, and that probably doesn't come to a surprise to anyone, as we see an upward, I would say, trend overall in terms of the interest in ethics and how businesses engage with ethics and topics such as diversity, equity, and inclusion. And we are expecting to continue to see this trend increase over time. And so I will turn it over to Bill now, and he talks a little bit more about some of the current topics in both ethics and entrepreneurship.
Yeah, thank you, Erin. So I took some time to review what type of research has been conducted over the past 5 years to try and see if there's anything that kind of stuck out from all the different papers that we have out here with regards to business and ethics. And a couple of the things that I have that I came up with here based on different studies, based on citation counts and things like that, resulted in me finding that one place which a lot of authors are looking at right now is digital technology entrepreneurship. Okay, how does the digital era fit into that whole entrepreneurship concept? And so a lot of very interesting papers have come out in the past 5 years that specifically targeted different aspects of the digital age. So we have papers like Nambisam's paper that specifically looks at how do entrepreneurs incorporate different digital technologies into trying to make for a successful business, and how do they transition from a non-digital entrepreneurial platform to one where there's this realization that there's opportunity, there's value in tapping into this new potential stream of revenues and profitability that comes from different digital platforms out there. So there are quite a number of papers that focus on different innovations and how the innovations add value to the entrepreneur. Um, I found a number of papers that looked at the different high technology clusters that are formed, moving from high technology clusters, the traditional ones that are formed around major corporations, to high technology clusters that are formed around startups and new ventures. And so there's a lot of interest in that field. And I think it also is timely, given that with what's been happening over the past even 1 year, there's been a lot of interest in shifting away from the traditional way of thinking to thinking about what opportunities exist in an economy that's moving rapidly online. If you could please move forward this. The second stream of research that I found to be pretty popular had to do with social entrepreneurship. And social entrepreneurship differs slightly from your typical entrepreneurship in that we're now looking at the entrepreneur whose immediate motive is not just profit. Okay, so social impact entrepreneurship goes beyond the profit motive and looks at what are the different activities that entrepreneurs engage in that result in the greater common good of society rather than just of the entrepreneur himself. So a lot of the research here entails trying to figure out what are the metrics that can be used that are separate from the typical profit-based metrics that we have that can gauge the effectiveness of a social entrepreneur. Okay. Found a number of papers too that focused on what's the value that's created by the social entrepreneur, and how do we assess the magnitude of that value that the social entrepreneur brings to society. So it's a budding field. I think there's a lot that can be tapped into, and I think even within USASBE we have a social entrepreneurship group that has a lot of really interesting collaborations going on for anybody who might be interested in social entrepreneurship. There's quite a lot that can be done within this field of social entrepreneurship. The other topics that I found to be of interest, of ongoing interest, there was entrepreneurial resilience, where we're basically looking at the entrepreneur. What is it about the entrepreneur that enables them to overcome certain challenges, and enables them to become better than your typical person who might not be willing to go that extra mile when it comes to overcoming different challenges or hurdles that they might encounter over the course of the life cycle of a business. So a lot of the research when it comes to resilience focuses on the personality traits of the entrepreneur, but it also focuses on what type of events do they also encounter, and how do those events make for a better entrepreneur. So I think that also has quite a lot that could be still mined from the topic, and I think it's going to be one that's going to continue being a topic of interest into the next couple of years. Okay, so there are a lot of interesting topics out there. I was just focused on which ones seem to be having the most traction at the moment. Sustainability is another issue that's that came up quite a bit in the course of my researching different articles that have been published in the past 5 years. Entrepreneurship and the global economy, macroeconomic issues and how they tie into entrepreneurship. There's also quite a lot of papers that have been published in the past 5 years, and I think that will continue to be of interest. I still haven't seen any papers that specifically focus on what's been happening over the past 1 year, but I think there's a potential that somebody who's interested in trying to figure out what are the effects of the previous year's pandemic, how has that factored into the entrepreneur or the entrepreneurial spirit for most people wanting to engage in an entrepreneurial venture. That could be something that I would see having some short-term interest, similar to any other adverse event that we might have where there's an interest in trying to figure out how do we reflect and how do we learn from what just happened or what's continuing to happen, and try and build a stream of literature out of that. So there's a lot of really interesting topics, a lot of really interesting articles out there, and I think it's we're open to receiving articles on any one of these topics. But again, entrepreneurship is broad, and the potential to start a new stream of research in entrepreneurship is something that we encourage and we hope to see more of as well. Okay, thank you.
All right. So a couple of the things that Bill just brought up are things that we would love to consider for future special issues. We have had 2 past special issues, one on spirituality and another on social entrepreneurship. We would definitely be happy to explore some different areas. Family business is a particular area of interest for me, so the ethics associated with that. Digital entrepreneurship, as Bill just kind of walked us through that information, and the same with resilience. That will definitely, as more data comes in and we start to see the other side of this, hopefully very, very soon, we will be able to start conducting research on it and really understanding what the impacts of the past year. We're also completely open to ideas about special issues, and we're definitely interested in ideas about special issues if you're interested in serving as a special issue editor. That makes us even more interested in some sort of collaboration there. We also would be very happy to have reviewers. We always are looking for good reviewers that have a specific interest that can really help with that. So you can send us an email, je@gardner-web.edu, if you're interested either in serving as a reviewer or special issue editor. All right, and then so if instead of serving as an editor or reviewer, you would like to submit a paper to the journal, I wanted to go over a few things about the submission guidelines. We've moved to APA 7. Like for the submission to be in Word format. We tend to like no more than 9,000 words. However, since our online presence is what we're focusing on now, as opposed to the printed, the words count is no longer as important as it has been historically. So we'll definitely consider any quality papers and work with the author, to see how that would fit in our journal. Of course, if you've submitted an article to JEE, we don't want anything that's already been published or that is currently under consideration by another journal. And we also have a section with JEE that we devote to commentaries that fit in with our mission. These might be papers that aren't necessarily quant based, but have a lot of value within sort of this area of research. So the review process, if the papers come in to JEE at gardnerweb.edu, and if it's a good fit with the journal, it will be sent on to at least 2 reviewers. Typically, if I receive conflicting opinions, we'll go ahead and send to a 3rd reviewer. But our goal is always to have a review of initial submission within 30 to 60 days. So that is something we try to always meet. And then once the paper is accepted, we have an agreement with USASBE to go ahead and upload it, individual papers, to the USASBE site. So you already have the paper available there immediately, or right away, and then once there are enough papers for another issue, we'll send that out.